here goes. It's the app time. All of the things that you can do in the Mercusys app. So this is the app that is used to control, in this case, the Whole Home Mesh Halo system by Mercusys, which is model number, if I can find it, H70X, Halo H70X AX1800 Whole Home Mesh Wi-Fi system. Going into the app, not very obvious loading symbol, but I think that means it's loading. There we go. And we can see the points. We've got the internet. Oh, go away with the rating. The office point here. We've got one which I've got in the kitchen and one which I've got further into the house. We've got two devices, two client devices connected. We've got the Pixel 8 phone, which is over here, and we've got the phone that I'm using right here as well. On this screen we can pull down to refresh, and that will pull in new details. For example, if you've added another node or you want to check that a new client is connected, it should automatically update and does automatically update, but if you're worried or want to, you just drag down and it will go and check. You can do change device, where if you've got multiple Mercusys things adopted into your account, you can go over to those and change the settings on other devices. And the same in top left, you do the three bars and you get your account and your multiple networks there to go between them if you needed to. If you press on your silhouette, you can change your email address and your password and enable, I'm not sure what happens on Android, but on iPhones you can enable Face ID or probably the fingerprint. Wherever you press on here, this section here takes you to the same screen. So if I tap there, it's the same screen, versus if I tap on Office, it's the same screen, and anywhere else along that bar as well. We've got the speed that's currently going through the internet, so if I was streaming something you'd see data usage there, and the number of nodes you've got, which are the satellites, and the number of clients connected. Pressing on online clients gives you a more detailed list, including any of the ones which were connected and are now offline. Pressing on a particular client takes you to its details. Very interestingly, that one's dropped offline, so if I now go into online clients and show, that shows it as offline, and we've got the ability to delete it from the list if we wanted to, or wanted to clear the previous list of devices. Pressing on a device itself will take you to the details, and if we do the same within that list, it takes you to exactly the same screen as well. Top right of the clients list, so if we are there, go to online clients, top right, this icon here, we can block devices from connecting. So we can do the add and tell it that I don't want my Pixel to be allowed to connect. Going back into the specific client device, we can see what speed or throughput that particular device is doing, which Wi-Fi node it is connected to, so which one it's closest to. Apparently you can link them to family members, which will probably be to do with Parental Controls, which are one of the options on this. You can block it or remove it from the list. Not sure why it keeps thinking it's gone offline, because according to the status on the Pixel, I'm definitely connected to the Mercusys network. I don't know why this phone's touchscreen is so finicky. Good old touchscreens. There we go, Pixel 8. You can give it high priority. Not really sure how that works or how effective it will be, especially as probably these nodes don't know the speed of your internet connection into the building, so they don't really know what bandwidth to keep, what would you call it, keep reserved for this device anyway. Mesh technology, again, I wouldn't have expected that to be a toggle on the device, because you'd expect that to be on each of the nodes, turn off and on mesh on the nodes. Anyway, whatever. What other things can we do on this screen? We can add another device. So if you needed to add more Halo nodes, this is where you'd do that. And envelope icon, you have some device logs that show what connected and what disconnected when. Moving on to pressing this screen, which takes you to a more detailed view. You can change which of your Halo devices is the one that has the WAN or the internet connection. You can reboot everything, and you can factory reset by using the delete button all of the nodes through the app by using the dots and then the delete. If we now press onto one of these devices, let's press onto the internet actually first. Does nothing. Press onto one of the devices, it will give you a list of stuff that's connected to just that mesh node. And you can reboot that particular device, remove that particular device because it's the main one, it looks like it'll factory reset everything, and you can do a support call. Not sure why that's buried all the way under there, but it's within the settings for each of the nodes. So let's go to the furthest node, and we can remove that if we needed to then reuse it somewhere else in another place, or if you needed to reset it up for some reason. You can rename them, so in here I can go to there, press on that, call that kitchen, or you can press this little edit symbol here and type in a name. And this final one I'll also go in and change its name to bedroom. So that's everything on this first screen, the basic screen that you get to when you sign in. You can then do more, and we can change the Wi-Fi details and turn off and on the various bands. If you did want to, you can turn on WPA3, but I sadly shy away from that. I've had too many things not work, so they'll connect to WPA3 and they'll work fine for a day or something, and then the next day they'll just say that the password's wrong, or they won't be able to associate. There's all sorts of weirdness that I'm afraid I've seen with that. Even when you're in WPA3 plus WPA2, it still has that problem. The compatibility just isn't quite there yet, for me at least. You can hide the Wi-Fi from when you look at a list on your phone. It does mean if you want to connect to it, you have to type in the details or scan a QR code. And you can turn on guest networking, which means that people that connect to your guest network will not be able to get to things that are plugged into the network sockets at the back, or to other devices which are on your Wi-Fi. So for example, your printers, or if you've got a network attached storage, or some other devices. Network optimization, it will probably tell me whether tell you whether you've got your nodes placed in good locations, or whether one of them's got a very bad connection. So interestingly it says perfect, which for me I think is probably wrong, considering I can get nearly a gigabit out of this one, and then on the first satellite it drops down to about 300 megabits per second. I would hope that could that would perform better, but anyway. Deny list, which are the devices which are blocked from joining the Wi-Fi or joining your network. Reboot schedule really frustrates me. I don't know why manufacturers think it's reasonable to possibly need to reboot your devices every day or every week, because it means that they've designed a poor device if it needs rebooting to clear its memory or whatever else has happened. But yeah, it's an interesting function that seems to be quite common on a lot of consumer routers. is the ability to daily or weekly reboot. Don't really understand it. Anyway, WPS, you can trigger any of the points to do a WPS connection. So if you're trying to join a printer which doesn't have a screen or a way to input the password, you can, for example, it's near the bedroom one, you can start the WPS function on the printer and then do WPS within the app, and that's the same as if it had a physical WPS button on the side. The printer and that wireless access point would find each other and connect and share their password. I'll go to the advanced later. I will start with these other ones, these more basic ones. So parental controls. We can add a new profile. Let's call this one Sarah. They are 18. So it'll block adult content, supposedly, and you can give specific websites to block. We'll come back to that in a moment, but let's add that. Let's also connect a laptop as if it is their device. So I'm going to move this out of the way further to the back. Let's move this over here and fire up a laptop to do some website testing. Right, so I have a laptop. We'll call this Sarah's laptop in just a moment. So I'm going to block adult content and we'll allow everything else, including social networking, and we'll come back and, well, no, let's add tap to block more websites. Let's do, what's a very good one? Let's do Flight Radar. I can type 24.com. Next. We'll just leave all that. We won't do time profiles, but you can do time profiles where it will only allow access. I'm not sure the total time spent online will be particularly accurate because stuff's generally connected to Wi-Fi all of the time, even when it's not being used. But yeah, you could block it out internet at particular times of day, so let's turn that on. So yeah, you can block it from 10 o'clock till 7 AM if you wanted to, and then a different time at the weekends, which is quite good. Let's have a quick look at what the time limit says. Yeah, 2 hours. So it depends how it triggers that, whether it's a substantial amount of data use or whether it's just it's on the Wi-Fi, it starts the 2 hour timer. But yeah, be aware that the time limits one might be inaccurate. And interestingly, this is connected, but it's not showing it in the devices, and it could be because I started the wizard before I had connected the laptop. So let's go in and see whether we can edit that. So we've added a profile. We need to go into it and do the dots. Can only delete it. Can we edit it? Devices, yes. Press on that. Press on the add. And there we go. We've got the Pop! OS laptop, which is this one over here. So we should be now filtered on adult content, and we shouldn't be able to get to Flight Radar 24. Let's give this a go. So Flight Radar 24. And indeed, that does not appear to allow us to get to Flight Radar 24. Let's see how good it is at blocking adult content. So let's try and type. So interestingly, I would have expected that website to be blocked. Although maybe I don't know, I haven't dug into this website these days to see whether there's anything public that shouldn't be available. Whoa, that is definitely not blocking adult content. Oh my goodness. Wow. So it didn't block that website, which I'd say is probably one of the most, or the longest lived adult content from way before even the internet existed. It was a magazine. I am astonished that that's not blocked, but let's try one that is more, I guess, modern. and understood and obvious. So this will be RedTube. Appears not to load. The weather, flight radar also failed to load as well. Let's try. This doesn't really seem to be doing a good job of blocking adult content. Adult content, sites that contain sexual, harmful or illicit content. Yeah. It's definitely blocking flight radar, so why isn't it blocking the adult content sites? Well, there we go. I would not trust the Parental Controls categories function. Let's just see if we change the age to child. So that'll block, apparently, games, social networking and everything. So let's turn that on instead and see if that makes any difference. So we're now at... oh, do you have insights? Wait, I mean, it even shows that that it's allowed a porn site. I mean, come on, really. Can we... clear that, and let's start again. So we should still not be able to get to flight. Okay, so has that changed? Changing the profile has deleted my... No, it deleted my blocked websites. Well, that's very annoying. So if you've got a massive list of blocked websites and you change them from a different age, it clears all of your previously manually blocked websites. Right, so now we are back to this. We should be blocking adult content and some additional stuff as well. So let's try... No, still allows access to a website that is quite clearly adult. I'm going to close the browser and load it again, just in case it's some kind of persistent connection. That still allows access to that. And still allows access to that. So... And even then, on this report, if it's blocking adult content and it's allowing access to a website with a name like that, that is not working. The categories on this system do not work. So it'd be interesting to raise that as a support ticket with Mercusys or TP-Link and see what their answer to that is. However, the individual website blocking does work. Let's move on to quality of service. Okay, so that you can set your ISP's bandwidth, which then would mean it will, the Mercusys, when you do priority mode on a device, would know how much bandwidth you've got and how much you need to prioritize other devices. So that's fairly reasonable. Let's do, I've got 100 megabits per second down and 100 megabits per, well, let's do 60 megabits per second upload, and we'll see what this does. Devices high priority, none of them. So now if I do a speed test on a device that I know can get a good speed over the Wi-Fi, does it limit it as well? Or no, it still allows whatever you've got available coming down the line, but I presume if you did priority mode and then two things were using the internet, this would get unlimited, and then any other devices would get limited to 100 megabits per second, or whatever was available after or left, if that makes sense. Monthly report. For the parental controls, it would give you a breakdown per user. This should say a lot of bad pornography content, which is supposedly blocked, and give you time for each device connected, consumption of traffic, and which device used that traffic. So that's pretty in-depth, really. For such a, what I call a low-cost device, that's That's very good. Any other stuff that was in there? There's any drop downs. Wi-Fi password's not strong enough. Fair enough, it is a very obviously weak password. You can give other people access to administer your mesh nodes. So if there are two parents, for example, you could give both of them access to administer all of this. And we can do updates. This is going to be actually useful, I was going to say, because maybe the update will fix the parental controls, but it says that it is up to date, so something's just generally not working with the parental controls and the categorization of websites. Can I get to x.com? Yes, I can, so that's Twitter. I can still get to that. Let's do Facebook, because under the parental controls, I'm as a child, which should have social networking blocked, so just generally all of this categorization doesn't seem to work. Okay, let me move this laptop. Okay, Facebook is blocked or the internet's gone wrong. Let's just check. No, so Facebook does manage to get blocked. X.com or Twitter is not blocked. So I've no idea really what's going on with that. But it's kind of partially working. I wouldn't trust it if you're using it to try and restrict your children from using specifically categorized websites. Let's move on to the advanced options. We have IPv4 settings from the WAN. Oh, ignore ping from WAN. No, I don't like. Please enable WAN ping, because if anyone's ever trying to help you with your internet connection, so the internet's running slow or is being intermittent or whatever, responding to pings on the WAN was for some reason seen as a security flaw, but there's nothing other than telling that your connection is online. There's nothing that someone can do if they can ping your internet connection. So please don't feel scared turning or enabling ping on the WAN. Internet connection type, we've done that in the initial setup video, so if you go back to the other video I've made about this, if you do want to have a look at that. You can change the DNS to point to OpenDNS or any other DNS server you'd like to. IPv6 is for some reason disabled by default, which is a bit disappointing. Let's enable it. And the options you've got are dynamic IP, PPPoE, which will be interesting because we've got two lots of PPPoE on the IPv4 and IPv6. I'm not sure how that would work. 6-to-4 tunnel, so that would be like tunnel broker, or maybe a Teredo tunnel, or bridge. I would like that on dynamic IP, please. Get an IPv6 address, auto stateful, stateless, or non-address. So let's see what this gets. Prefix delegation, so you're going to then delegate it onto devices within the LAN of the Mercusys, and obtain automatically. And how to obtain or assign IPv6 to devices on your network. So I would like, not sure on that, anyway. And weirdly it hasn't obtained an IP address on the WAN, which it should do, because I do have a prefix which is big enough to do so. You can change the LAN IP address and the subnet mask. Etc. Although in this class of IP I can't set it wider than that anyway, so we shall leave that as it is. DHCP server, you can set the start and end IP addresses and also give your clients a specific DNS server. Generally, if you're going to change your internet-based DNS server, you do that in the WAN settings, and you wouldn't do it on this DHCP server, the details that you give to clients. But if you had an Active Directory server or maybe a Pi-hole in your network, then this is where you might want to change it so that the devices go directly to that server, that Active Directory server, or the Pi-hole. IPTV LANs, probably VLANs. that presumably does specific VLANs on the port and passes it through to an IPTV specific port on the back of the mesh node. Maybe. I don't know. We don't really use it in this country, so don't really know. Custom MAC address on the WAN port if you needed to. DHCP address reservations, so if you were going to always have a printer, for example, on the same IP address without setting the IP statically in the printer, you can add it there, and the Mercusys router will always give that same IP address to that same device. Port forwarding inbound, let's add a port. So I want to do, let's do for example, a source game, so Half-Life 2, going through to my Pixel 8 on port 27000, and external port 27000, and we are on UDP. Done. Okay, that's a port forwarding added. You can go in and delete it if you needed to. Dynamic DNS. If you have a dynamic IP address with your internet provider and you want a host name that will always point at your dynamic IP address, you can set up dynamic DNS. DyndNS is expensive and costs per year. NoIP has a paid-for version, but also does have a free version, and I've never used Mercusys. But it looks like you just get that for free. So you could just select if this touchscreen on this iPhone would play ball. Nope. Well, that's an interesting one. So I can press on username and password and domain name for dyndns or NoIP. But I wonder if they know that that is broken. Oh, I see. This bit here. That's really unclear. Anyway, you press on the little grey register domain name, and then you'd fill in, Bob's home, and save. Maybe. Oh, yep, success, top right. And yeah. So that's now registered. If you had a dynamic DNS, you could always ping or visit bobshome.mercusysddns.com, and it would always point at your dynamic IP address. SIP application layer gateway. If you have VoIP phones in your house and they're doing very strange things, try turning the SIP ALG off. What that is an application layer gateway, which is a bit of software within the router which tries to fix bugs with network address translation and SIP, although they are often written badly and cause more problems than they solve. So if you're having SIP problems, try turning SIP ALG off. UPNP allows devices like game consoles or CCTV boxes or torrent clients running on your computer to automatically port forward stuff through to themselves. So yeah, if you want that to happen, turn UPnP on, which it is by default. If you're worried about stuff creating port forwards into your network, then turn UPnP off. Fast roaming by default is disabled. Some client devices, so there are some old Fujitsu laptops with blue screen if you have fast roaming enabled, or seamless roaming or whatever. You could turn that on if you wanted to be able to walk between access points with having less of a downtime between, normally when you go between an access point there'll be like 10 seconds maybe or 5 seconds where it moves between them. Fast roaming might solve that for you, but it may also introduce some other problems. LED control, if the lights are annoying you, you can turn those off, or I guess night mode would turn them off only during a specific time. So if you have these boxes in a bedroom or somewhere where the light would be annoying, you can turn them off or set them on a timer. Operation mode, we can go into just access point mode. So if I had these in my house, I would definitely be putting them into access point mode because I have a fairly competent open WRT based router, and I would only want these to do access points and the wireless side of it. Notifications. I don't like being bugged on my phone for things like this, but you could enable them, and then it looks like it would tell you if there's firmware update or when somebody new connects to your network. So that's about it in that entire app. I think I've been through absolutely everything. The only thing I may wish to try now is changing this to access point mode and see how that goes. There we have it. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If it has, it would be really helpful to me if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel. You don't need to have the video notifications switched on, but the subscriber numbers really do help. Thanks very much. Just a quick note that the IPv6 did start working once I rebooted the router.